Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Monday School. Welcome to Monday School edition number, I don't know. But today we are going to talk about some very painful things, things that a lot of us don't want to talk about. A lot of us don't talk about. And but we have to face the truth and we have to face reality. So I would like you all to bear with me and relax and help me think through where we are and what we need to do. As you know, new species was invented to help people worldwide, all people with their health, to rebuild their immune system and rebuild their health so they can live better and longer. We can live better and longer. And new species history is is about helping people to be mentally and spiritually healthy. So it's spiritual health, mental health. That's what New History and Monday School is all about. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about our resurrection, our resurrection of our spirituality and our cultural heritage. So, New Species History or New History is primarily focused on human history and particularly in African history, African culture, and just educating or providing information or knowledge to people who don't have it that can enable all of us to live better mentally and spiritually. That is the singular goal of New Species History, is to promote mental health and spiritual health. They both go together, just as how New Species formulas and products are designed to help promote human health. So let's get into it. The resurrection of our spirituality. I talk a lot about spirituality and the Creator God. I believe that God created the whole universe, including the world, which is Earth, and its atmosphere that give us life. It's the ecology of all life forms, and that's what I call spirituality. Spirituality is the gift of life and the gift that enable us to live better and live longer as given by God, the Creator God. And I don't believe that without history and spirituality, I don't believe that anyone can truly have a healthy mind, a healthy spirit, a healthy soul, and especially those of us who are suffering In our mind and our souls, we have grave pains and great grave suffering from what happened in the past. And yes, we can't move forward without talking about the past. So this pain and suffering, this agony, for many of us, it's a form of past traumatic syndrome. So we suffer from 2,500 years of past traumatic genocide and mass murder syndrome. That's what I call it. From Kush to Kemet, when those people, our people, were destroyed, to slavery and colonialism, and today to bigotry and racism. It's just part of all human life, but we have grave suffering from that. A lot of you have told me, and especially those of you who are in your 70s, 80s, and 90s who I have spoken to one-on-one. And a lot of this is about what you told me, the pain that you feel even at that age, having lived on earth for so long and still carry the pain from your parents, your grandparents, your foreparents, going all the way back to our ancestors. But I believe that God doesn't need to save us, because God has already given us sacred divine spirituality. And God has already given us an extraordinary cultural heritage. During the imperial dominion of the Kushites, the Kemites, the Africans in general, before the destruction that was reigned by the Assyrians, and thereafter. That's where it began, with the Assyrians, and it's biblical. It's in the Bible. Go read Isaiah and Nahum, and those two prophets will relate to you how it began, how it all fell apart, the unity of our ancestors, and how it never got put back together because slavery and colonialism just literally just finished it off. We now know enough about our ancestors and our culture and heritage and history to cure our posts, all the agonies we've faced. We can cure it now. So yes, we have a cure for the past traumatic syndrome and the agonizing fear that comes with it. A lot of people don't know about that fear that we live in and under every day. Even in our homes, we have that fear, deep fear. And how do we cure our organizing fear and this past? We must embrace, one, our original creator God, and the sacred divine spirituality. It is only that truth that will nourish our souls and our minds and promote our mental health. Nothing else will, people. And I'm going to recap a little bit of it. And we must also embrace our cultural heritage, because this knowledge power will free up and open our minds to unite and begin the rebuilding or the reconstruction of our sacred divine spirituality and culture given to us by our original creator God. Original creator God is key. And have you ever wondered why we don't fit in? We don't fit in. We don't fit in anywhere. Especially those of us who are in this so-called diaspora. A lot of you told me you have gone back to Africa and you have ran back to the Caribbean or the United States. You can't fit in there either. A lot of you have told me that. A lot of you are my clients. You have told me you can't live there. And you went there with a lot of money. You still can't live there. So the truth is that we don't fit in anywhere. We don't even fit in. A lot of us don't even fit in our homeland. That's what you were telling me. I have not been to Africa. Plan to go there, but I've never been there. But I will go there, one way or the other. But why can't we fit in? We can't fit in because we will not fit in without that knowledge of our Creator God, of our sacred spirituality, and that knowledge of our cultural history and heritage. We will not fit in here or there or anywhere, because without those three pieces, our Creator God, spirituality, knowledge of our culture and heritage, we are nothing. And we will always be in pain. And we will always not fit in anywhere. Our ancestor Africans had the same Creator God, people. They had the same Creator God. The different tribes and different languages giving God different names in their native tongue, but it is the same Creator God, just with different names, and the same spirituality. And all this is safely, in detail, documented in the pyramid texts, the Book of the Dead, the Coffin texts, and thousands of other papyri and other tablets made from stone, some from granite. And they were written at least 3,000 years, some of them at least 3,000 years before the Bible. So the knowledge is there if we want the power to heal ourselves, to cure our minds, and to heal the pain. They, the Africans, also had the same cultural heritage from Adam's calendar that we talk about. You can see the Resurrection of the Christianite videos and YouTube that we have up there. Go watch them. All the Africans have the same cultural heritage, from Adam's calendar, in southern Africa to Tasseti, at Cusco to Kerma, Nubia, Kush. Kush is just the latest name or renaming of Tasseti and Cusco and Kerma and Nubia. And the same cultural heritage of the pharaohs and the kings of Kush and Kemet. It's the same cultural heritage. It's the same cultural heritage. The same dynastic ruling families from Nubia or Kush were in Kemet. The same dynastic ruling families. The Kemites' first ruling families came from Congo regions before they migrated up to Tasseti and Nubia, and then Kemet. They have the same mathematics from the Ishangabone in Congo with arithmetic, algebra, geometry, the same mathematics. See the Ishangabone, see the Berlin papyrus, see the Rhine papyrus. The same embalming, sodium, natron, chemistry and metal smelting, first developed in Mali, deep in Africa, that spread to Chad and then to Kush and to Kemet. The same astronomy and physics developed at Adam's calendar spread to Seti, to Naphtali, to Kush and Kemet in the pyramids. And they're aligned with the USA stars, or the Osiris stars, the Orion constellation that our ancestor is associated with, Osiris or Usar. And the Sirius star, Iset, or Isis, is associated with in the Canis Major constellation. Same knowledge used in Kush and Kemet. Same engineering referencing the palaces in the coastal incense burner in Nubia. If you're looking for pride, you're looking for dignity, it's all there. You just have to embrace it. The same architecture in the coastal incense burner, the pyramids, the obelisk, the same structure of natural medicine in the Ebers papyrus, confirmed by modern scientists, used in Kush and Kemet, that we now at New Species use in our manufacturing of New Species products and formulas. All this wide spectrum of knowledge of pyramid building, obelisks, and temples existed nowhere else on planet Earth before that. Nowhere else. No evidence of it existed anywhere else. So you're looking for dignity, you're looking for stability, you're looking for a cure for the mental pain, suffering, the pain in the soul. You want to fit in, you want us to fit in. You have to embrace that. Even the Bible, the Holy Bible, the most powerful book ever written that is used today by humans, say explicitly that the Kushites and the ancient Egyptians are one and the same people. Don't believe anything I say. Think about it, people. Really? Think about it. So if you want mental healing of the soul, of the mind, embrace the knowledge of our Creator God, of our sacred spirituality, of our culture, all the creation, the inventions of our culture. I just mentioned a few. So yes, because of the biblical genocides, because of the bloody invasion that destroyed Kush and Kemet, because of the brutality of slavery and colonialism, we still live with the agony, the pain and suffering. A lot of people don't know that. We live with this pain. It's mental pain now. And some of us, I saw it in my mother's eyes when I used to go to church with her. And in that church in St. Elizabeth, Jamaica, they would have a rope that separate the light-skinned people from the black-skinned people. And if the black-skinned people dared to cross the rope into the white-skinned people area, they would be ostracized, and their church membership would be taken away permanently. So a lot of us bury all that. I saw it in my grandmother's eyes, my grandfather's eyes. I don't know about you all. But we fear all this because of the past that I just mentioned. And we live in our private hell because we fear more cruelties being rained upon us. So we stay quiet and we live in agony and quiet desperation. I call that quiet desperation fear. So let's face it, people. You all have your own pieces of hell that you live with. Every single one of you have. So let's face it, we're still afraid of the past, and so allow ourselves to be absorbed into another culture that we don't fit into. So we gave up everything. We gave up ourselves, we gave up our children, we're going to give up our grandchildren. We gave and are giving up everything, even our sacred Creator God, our sacred spirituality. When we give up those, we have nothing left, and that's why we won't fit in. We will never fit in. And yes, I'm going to defend you a little bit, and then I'm going to take back my defense of you. So the cost to embrace who we are carries a high cost, a high price. We fear the loss of the monumental value of being accepted, and we could lose our jobs. We could be denied jobs, promotion, and just the wider acceptance in society. So we also fear the reprisal, the backlash, and I can tell you, I know very well how to fit in. I worked on Wall Street. I work at IBM. So I know how to fit in, and I never fit in. I was very successful on Wall Street. I was very successful at IBM. But I never fit in. So the cost to embrace who we are carries, it carries a high price. And, we just can't afford to raise eyebrows in public. I know. In the workplace. I know. And even in our family. I know that I have a brother, and, I guess I'm speaking more about me today than all of you out there. I have a brother who, I keep using the word had. I'm going to tell you why. But I have a brother who, he became a Rastafarian as a teenager. And my parents, they shunned him and they pushed him away, and he left our parental home when he was probably no more than 14 years old, because he was too radical, and my parents couldn't deal with that. And because of that, I saw it. I witnessed it. The minister at the church was asking questions. The principal at the school was asking questions because they were close to my parents. Other people were asking questions. What's going on here? And all he was doing is embracing a part of his African culture that was not Jamaican. So my parents were ashamed of it. They were very ashamed of it. They were devastated by it. And my brother ran away from home, from us. So I use the word had because he has abandoned us. I don't know if he's alive. We haven't seen him in over 20 years. We know he's somewhere in the U.S. The last time he was in Pennsylvania. But that's the price we pay for this fear of who we are. A lot of you have the prices you pay, one way or the other. That's one of the prices my parents pay, and I pay, because I have a brother who I love, and that brother, I think, he's the most brilliant person in my whole family, as I can remember. He was just astonishingly brilliant. So yes, we face backlash even at home. And yes, once we walk out of our homes, once you walk out of your home, you can't be who you really are or who you want to be. There is a price to pay to waver from society's norms or expectations. If we wear the wrong clothes, the wrong hairstyles, speak the wrong words, if you don't look the part, if you don't act the part, there's a price to pay. If you worship a non-mainstream religion, suddenly even your coworkers or friends look at you differently. Suddenly you're a threat, you're a pariah. So we're all afraid. We're all afraid to embrace even our original creator God, even our spirituality, even many of you who say you believe in God, you're spiritual, you still don't embrace your original creator God and original spirituality. And you're afraid of your cultural heritage. You distance yourself from it. You're afraid to embrace who you are, and that's why you won't fit in. That's why we won't fit in. We're afraid to speak about who we are. We're afraid to speak about our ancestors. And because of that, we're afraid to own our genes and DNA, and we just eat what we eat today, and it causes all the damage to our bodies, and we believe that someone is causing it. No one is causing it. We are causing it because of our ignorance. So we're all afraid. And the ones that are not afraid are all dead. And what do? I can't speak too confidently about this because my sister, my older sister, she tells me recently in the past year that when she worships God, she's not thinking about a white God or a white Jesus, which is weird because she's reading the Bible. and the God in the Bible and the Jesus in the Bible is a white Jesus and a white God. So, that's just weird. But we have no God and we have no spirituality because we're not worshiping in accordance with our ancestry and our culture. We're copying someone else's God and spirituality. So how are we going to have unity, dignity, stability if we're afraid of who we are? Everybody should be afraid of us for that reason alone. Everybody should be afraid of us. We should be afraid of ourselves. And guess what? We are afraid of ourselves. That's why we're not unified. So when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about how we sacrifice everything that we are. We reject everything that we are, literally, and we try to embrace something that we're not, something that we never will be. And then I'll tell you what we need to do to improve our mental health, our spiritual health, and our physical health by embracing our
civilization,
God, embracing our spirituality,
did not begin 3,000 years ago, my friends.
Cultural heritage.
Civilization.
If we're going to have dignity and pride, that's what we must do. So we're going to talk about how we can do it and how we should do it for our children and our women who we need to protect. We'll be right back.
Civilization did not begin 3,000 years ago, my friends. Civilization began about 75,000 years ago by the early Alkebulians, or the early Africans, or the very early Kushites in southern Africa. Civilization did not begin with the ancient Greeks. Civilization did not begin with the ancient Romans. Civilization began with the early Kushites, who migrated from southern Africa via the Khoisans, or the Khoikhoi, and the Bantu to northern Africa. Now, the Blambos Caves in southern Alkebulan have some of the most extraordinary pieces of arts that were made over 70,000 years ago. But we're not here to talk about the Blambos Caves. We're here to talk about Adam's calendar in southern Alkebulan. The Adam's calendar was built at least 75,000 years ago. Some believe that it was built as early as 130,000 years ago. But let's stick with 75,000 years ago. The early Kushites who built the Adam's calendar, they used granite, dolomite, and hornfels. These are special stones that have certain electromagnetic components. And this is very critical to what the early Kushites were trying to accomplish, or had accomplished. Those stones were protruding from the ground, but those stones, because they're electromagnetic in nature, because of their components, because of their chemistry, those stones were connected with the magnetic energy, or the magnetic force, or the electromagnetic force from the core of the earth, as well as the other minerals that carry that force from the core of the earth to the surface of the earth, where these dolomites and granite, they also created a force field that was also connecting with the Orion constellation and likely other galaxies. We don't know the full extent of what the early Kushites were doing over 75,000 years ago, but we know this. Those megaliths, they are perfectly aligned with the brightest stars in the Orion constellation. And those megaliths, they have electromagnetic forces connecting into the earth and connecting above the earth with other electromagnetic forces, which could be the photon physics, or it could be other electromagnetic forces related to gravity. Now, we're going to talk about that because it is very important to understand what these early human ancestors accomplished and how this knowledge migrated to the Kushites in northern Africa, as well as to the Egyptians, who were Kushites. Let's talk about Adam's calendar. And just think for a moment about the degree of knowledge that would be required to accomplish what I just said 75,000 years ago. Imagine the knowledge, exceptional inventions in spherical trigonometry, in geometry, and other mathematical forms that would be required 75,000 years ago, at least, to align these electromagnetic megaliths with the Orion constellation perfectly. Perfect alignment. Imagine. Now, this Adam's calendar can today be used as a real calendar to predict rainstorms, to tell the season of the year, to tell the time of the year by month, week, day, and even the precise time any given day. Yes, the Adam's calendar circle can do that today, as it had done over 75,000 years ago. Now, again, imagine the knowledge in particle physics, wave frequency physics, or electricity and magnetism, quantum physics, other multivariable calculus, other mathematical methods in physics, statistics. We don't know that the Kushites were calling this quantum physics or quantum mechanics or electromagnetic force 75,000 years ago. But we know that what they have accomplished. These modern names, quantum mechanics, quantum physics, wave frequencies, photon physics. We know that all these names that we use today in physics and chemistry could easily have been used 75,000 years ago. Now, we will talk about this a whole lot more, Adam's calendar, and the astronomical signs, or the signs in astronomy and astrology that they developed 75,000 years ago. We will talk about that because this also has everything to do with Kushite spirituality. Let's go further north up to Naphtali. While Adam's calendar was built over 75,000 years ago and is perfectly aligned with the Orion constellation that is over 1,300 light years away from here, from Earth, over 1,300 light years away from here. Now, in each light year is 6 trillion years. 6 trillion years in one light year. The Orion constellation is about 1,300 light years away from Earth. Now, let's go up to Naphtali. Naphtali is also aligned, at least when it was built, with the brightest stars in the Orion constellation. Naphtali has megalith as well, which need to be examined more by scientists. But Naphtali megalith are aligned, or at least when it was built, with the brightest stars in the Orion constellation, just as Adam's circle, or Adam's calendar. Now, let's move further north. Egypt. The 3 pyramids at Giza are also aligned with the Orion constellation, or at least the brightest stars in the Orion constellation. Now, the 3 pyramids at Giza, Naphtali, Adam's circle, all have the same astronomical concepts in common. They're aligned with the brightest stars in the Orion constellation. The Great Sphinx, which is aligned with the 3 pyramids at Giza, are also aligned toward the constellation of the Orion belt. Why are all of these monuments invented by the Alkebulians or Africans? Why are they so important? They're important, friends, because it shows that civilization not only began over 75,000 years ago, but it shows that the knowledge of the Kushites or the Kushite Egyptians and the knowledge that they brought to Kerma, the knowledge that they brought to Napata was the knowledge they used to construct the holy sacred city of Napata. The holy sacred city of Napata that was destroyed. It was completely razed, completely destroyed. Now, what we don't know is the knowledge that was destroyed there. The knowledge in astronomy, astrology, in earth science, knowledge of physics, knowledge of chemistry, knowledge of architecture, and probably most importantly, knowledge of how the Kushites were able to survive global climate change that is now affecting us today. Imagine if we had that knowledge today. Imagine if that knowledge was not destroyed. So this is something for all of us to think about, all humans to think about, and think about in the sense that when we don't all stand together, we stand disintegrated. But let's go back to the Kushites. We're going to talk about Kushite spirituality. We're going to talk about what happened at Adam's calendar, what happens at Naphtali, what happens at the three pyramids at Giza, and then we're going to talk about the holy sacred city of Napata and how we are a weaker people today. All humans are weaker because of its destruction and what was destroyed there. All that knowledge and information that could probably help us today to survive global climate change that we still can't seem to figure out.
Hello, welcome back to the second phase and last phase of Monday School today. Today, we're talking about the resurrection of our ancestry, the resurrection of our ancestors, the resurrection of the knowledge of our creator, God, the resurrection of our sacred spirituality, the resurrection of our cultural heritage, our cultural history, the resurrection of who we are that we have buried because of fear of reprisal because of racism and bigotry around the world. So, New Species again is dedicated to helping people worldwide as we do with their physical health. And by helping people with their physical health, we at New Species, and myself in particular, have come to realize the incredible harm that are caused from spiritual and mental fear. Just the stress of it. So let's resume what we're talking about. Just going to recap a tiny bit, and then I'm going to tell you what this mental fear, what the rejection of our spirituality and our creator God, our original creator God, what it's done to us. And because it's done that to us, the whole world is affected, because I believe the whole world is on the wrong path, and that's why religions today can embrace wars and murder and genocides and death. And these religions today can even say, God approve it. God approve it. When the Bible says God sent his son to forgive us. For what? We're continuing the hate, the genocide, the murder, mass murder of women and children and everybody else. What are you talking about? Which God? So that's why I believe that we have to go back to our original creator God, who has given our ancestors the great cultural heritage in Africa, from southern Africa to Kenya to Tanzania, all the way up to Nubia, Kush, Kemet. That knowledge is power, and that's what we need to free our minds so that we can live better and longer, because of the healthier our mental and spiritual health will be. So let's resume. We must embrace this cultural history, as said before, because knowledge is power. Knowledge of who we are, or mathematics, or chemistry. But I focus primarily knowledge of our sacred, divine, spiritual ancestry in all those sacred documents left behind by our ancestors. Now, this is the issue I see. A lot of you who come to New Species, and come to me in particular, a lot of you are suffering from severe mental stress. And a lot of you don't know why. Especially those of you who are older, you don't know why. A lot of you who have brought your children to me, your boys and girls to me, most of them in college and high school, who have issues with mental health. They have issues with anxiety. They have issues with depression. A lot of them are suicidal. And some of them, you allow them to speak with me one-on-one, directly and privately. And this is part of the issue they have, or maybe it's the major issue they have. In high school, in college, and university, this is the mental issue they have. It has to do with racism and bigotry. A lot of it. It's not money, it's not food, lack of food. It's not drugs they're taking. Most of the issues they have with their mental health has to do with bigotry or racism. So, in case I didn't tell you that, I tell it to you now publicly without calling their names. And there are many of you who are in Africa itself. A lot of your children have the same issues of mental health, even in the motherland. So, this is what's happening to you, the older ones and the young ones. Now, the older ones, you're able to suppress it. You have experience in hiding it, burying it, even though it's still there, affecting all of you, all of us subconsciously. It's still there. You can't bury it. You think you do, but you don't. And for a lot of us, it caused a lot of anger without us knowing that it's causing anger. And if you go back to some studies here in the United States that were done in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, a lot of black men used to abuse their wives or their women because of that mental, spiritual stress caused from racism and bigotry. Because a lot of those black men were less able to fit in, like the women were able to better fit in, but a lot of the black men couldn't fit in. And that's why the prison populations around the United States were so heavily populated with black men. There were men who were suffering from severe mental harm, mental anguish because of bigotry and racism. So we all suffer that. Some of us just worse than others. Some of us have better support systems or groups within the family or the church. But we have to face it now. And if you're not going to face it, you should stop talking about unity. You should stop talking about what black people are, how black people are, and all that nonsense. It's all rubbish. It's all garbage. We have to face the pain, the mental, spiritual harms and pain and suffering that result in stress. And then this stress, it causes our bodies to manufacture excess steroids, cortisol, estrogen, testosterone, especially in women. And this depresses the immune system. So this mental harm leads to physical harm, because when the immune system is depressed, that's how so many young people are getting diabetes and blood pressure, and older people too. And prostate issues, guys. Prostate cancer, the number one killer of black men. And women with all these hormonal issues, from their uterus with fibroids and endometriosis to their ovary, their breast glands, and all these organs turn into cancer because of the stress hormones, because of mental, spiritual harm that you all are bottling up. We all are bottling up. So I propose the mental spiritual cure again. And I believe I'm right. Those of you who know me know that when I say something so positively, I usually mean it. Until we embrace our divine creator God, our divine original creator God, and embrace the blessings of sacred divine spirituality he has given us, he or she has given us. And until we embrace our cultural heritage and history and our ancestors, fully embrace them, fully embrace what they created, what they invented. Until we do that, we will still suffer with these chronic issues of cancers, autoimmune diseases, all the pestilence of diabetes and blood pressure and heart disease. And we have them say, the CDC and the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, in the National Library of the United States. That's what the studies and the scientific research have shown. Until we embrace who we are going to live a much shorter life than all of the cultures like we do today, even here in the United States. Our average lifespan is in the 50s. White folks are in the 70s. That's a massive gap. And the difference is we have more diseases, so we're going to die more. We have more blood pressure. We have more prostate issues. We have more, ladies have more breast issues, uterine issues, ovarian issues, breast issues, thyroid issues. So they're going to die more. You're going to die more. So we can fix that. So a lot of the physical issues we have, like diabetes and blood pressure, infesting our pancreas and our blood vessels, and diseases infesting our prostate, it's because a lot of it stems from the mental harm, the spiritual harm. So please, people, take this one seriously and make this talk I'm giving you, make it the most important talk you've ever received from me. Even for those of you who have private consultations with me at New Species about your health, take this one as the most serious I have ever given to any of you, and share with your family and your friends, and become missionaries for your family and your friends and your coworkers. Be missionary of New Species for them to help them live better and live longer. God bless you all.